Fate Be Changed, Chapter 41, Merida. Merida stepped away from the wardrobe, giving Eleanor space to process. It was not the easiest news, that one was possibly at the center of one's childhood friend's nefarious plans. But she had kept the princess in the dark for too long. Eleanor needed to know what she was dealing with. "I do not know if she meant you harm," Merida said. She began to pace again. "At least, Eileen did not say specifically that she would harm you, just that she would take care of it, and because she was speaking with the man Lachlan had sent to spy on you, I assumed that taking care of it meant taking care of you." Eleanor went over to her bed and sat on the edge of it, her forehead furrowed, creating a deep V in its center. "So this has nothing to do with my father?" she asked. "It is I whom Eileen is after?" "That is the part I cannot make sense of," Merida said. "Nothing has befallen you, yet when I overheard Eileen speaking with the others, you were the one they were discussing." She glanced at Eleanor. "She said very vile things about you, because she believes you are sneaking around with a Dunbrock." "Let her," Eleanor said. "I do not care what anyone thinks of me anymore." "But you must care about what people may do to you, or do to your family. I do not know if harming the king is Eileen's method of hurting you, but I am certain that she and Lachlan are up to something." Eleanor stared at the floor in silence. After several minutes, she looked up at Merida. "What do you suggest I do? Am I to stay and allow this marriage to Lachlan take place? What if you were wrong?" Merida was certain she was not wrong. She felt it in her gut, but she also did not know where to go from there. They found themselves in a precarious situation. If they were to inform the king that he was in danger, it could tip off Eileen and the others. They could decide to abandon their scheme and charge the princess and Merida with making false accusations. It would be Merida's word against Eileen's. She had no doubt whom the king would believe. Or worse, Eileen and Lachlan could escalate their plan. Although an escalation might not be necessary, because Merida had a feeling the time was near. She was certain they were preparing to carry out whatever they had in store, for the princess or the king during the Highland Games. She remembered Eileen telling the spy that it would be better to wait until the other clans arrived, probably so that they could lay blame on one of them. "Well?" Eleanor said. "I am not sure," Merida admitted, "but there is something in a nearby village who I believe could help." You are not going to leave me here," Eleanor warned. "I will be back," she said, "but this person can see things that others cannot." Eleanor eyed her suspiciously. "Are you going to meet a wise woman?" The leeriness in her voice made Merida rethink her answer. When it came to her parents, her mother courted a belief in witches, wisps, and whimsy far more than her father ever had, but Merida was unsure when that belief started. It was better to keep Freya's identity unknown. "It is someone who may have answers." Merida squeezed her hands. "Trust me." "You promise you will come back?" "I promise," Merida assured her. Then she took off. When Merida reached the stables, Ewan tried to question her where she was going so late in the evening, but she did not take the time to answer him. She climbed onto Agus's back and charged out of the stable. She galloped at breakneck speed until she reached Clan Inez's village. She rode past the blacksmith and cobbler shops, heading straight for the small woodcarver storefront. She quickly tied Angus's reins to a post in front of the store, then entered, calling out for the witch. Freya, I must speak to you." The front room, which had been bare for the last time she was here, was now crowded with hundreds of wood carvings, just as the witch's cottage had been when she stumbled upon it in the forest. The only thing is, it was empty of people. "Freya?" Merida called, venturing deeper into the shop. "The shop is closed for the day." "Oh, it's you again." Merida whirled around. It was the older woman, Freya's mother. She wore the same kind of smile as before. "Hello," Merida said. "Please, where is your daughter? I must speak to her." "Oh, I am sorry Freya is not here, lass, but she must have known you'd be calling her. She told me to tell you that she has gone north to Sutherland to gather supplies. Is she making you a tisane? She tends to go to Sutherland when making a new concoction." "She is attempting to make one for me, yes," Merida muttered. Her shoulders slumped along with her spirits. She did not know enough about the politics of this kingdom. She wanted Freya's guidance to help her figure out if there was a way to keep Clan Fraser out of the games. But she could not rely on Freya every time she was in a bind. She had to learn to rely on herself. Still, she needed to talk to someone who knew more about how the Highland Games were conducted, and there was only one other person Merida could think of who could assist her. She left the woodcarver shop and within moments was back in the forest, heading for Clan Dunbrock's camp. She arrived in record time. The few remaining clansmen were gathered around a fire. One of them was roasting a hare on a spit. Another was filling drinking horns with what looked like ale from a leather drinking skin. She did not want to break up their party, but... "Fergus!" she called. She looked up from the bow he was shaping with a whittling tool. "It is late, lass. What are you doing here?" "The princess is in trouble," Merida said. He set the bow on the ground and stood. "What do you mean? In trouble how?" "I think I have figured out the threat to the kingdom," Merida said. She laid everything bare, pointing out how the Clan McCameron crest fit with the riddle they found written on the parchment, and then relaying the snippets of conversation she had overheard between Eileen, Gregory, and Lachlan's spy. She also gave him the details surrounding Eileen and Lachlan's meeting in the corridor the night the king fell ill. Unlike Eleanor, Fergus did not question the veracity of Merida's suspicions. "We must go to the king," he said. "We cannot," she told him. "We cannot allow Eileen and Lachlan to become aware of our suspicions. Also, there may be others in the staff at McCameron Castle who are involved. I do not know. What if someone in the king's council is part of Eileen and Lachlan's plan?" "But we now know that the king is truly in danger. His guards must know so they can protect him, so they can protect the queen and the princess." Fergus punched his open hand, grinding his knuckles against his palm. "Something like this can pitch the entire kingdom into chaos." He looked down at Merida with a frown. "Are you sure about this, lass?" Merida nodded. She sucked in a deep breath and released it. Then she said, "I believe the next attempt on the king's life will take place at the Highland Games." He nodded. "You're probably right, if what you overheard is true." "Is there a way to disqualify Clan Fraser from participating in the games, from attending the games at all?" Fergus was shaking his head before she could finish her question. "'Tis the clan's right to attend as a member of McCameron Kingdom." His eyes darkened. "And there is the matter of the princess's betrothal. 'Tis to take place at the games, as is tradition." Merida was taken aback by the sharp edge to his voice at the mention of the betrothal. It was reassuring. If he felt this way about the princess's upcoming betrothal, Eleanor must have meant more to him than he had been letting on. "There is something else," she said. "The chieftain suggested they do away with reading the wedding banns." Now it was Fergus's turn to look taken aback. "Why so?" "He would like the princess and Lachlan to be married at the games." Fergus froze, a blend of alarm and anger shrouding his face. "There is no proper reason for such a hasty ceremony," he said. He looked to Merida. "The question is why." "There is only one explanation I can think of," she said. Fergus spoke the answer before she could, horror shining in his eyes. "If the princess and Lachlan are married, and something befalls the king and the queen, then he will assume the position of leader of McCameron Kingdom. Lachlan will become king."